Is now in order to consider amendments to H.R. 764. I recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Huffman, for the purpose of offering his amendment designated Huffman number 1. Without objection, the amendment is considered read.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I obviously oppose this bill because it would take a significant step backward in protecting gray wolves from extinction by legislatively delisting the species across its range without any scientific analysis of whether the wolf qualifies for delisting based on population numbers, range, and, important factor here, threats to the existence of the species. That's what the law requires. This extreme bill would also ban judicial review. So it's really burning the bridge of species protection for the gray wolf. Now, we've been told that everything will be just fine because state wildlife managers are ready to take over, and we can trust the gray wolves to be treated well by the tender mercies of these wildlife agencies. You know, the reason that several of the Obama administration officials that used to support delisting changed their view, and when we refer to their view and characterize it, we should probably talk about their current view, not a prior view that they have since corrected. But the reason they did is because we got a little glimpse of the tender mercies of these state wildlife agencies, and we saw what they would do. When wolves were delisted in the waning days of the Trump administration, Idaho authorized the killing of 90% of their 1,500 wolves. Montana approved a statewide harvest quota of 450 wolves. That's 40% of that state's wolf population. And it resulted in an unprecedented number of Yellowstone wolves being killed. Wisconsin allowed the killing of 30% of its wolves in one hunting season. In August of 2021, Idaho reported 17 killings of gray wolf pups, some as young as 1 week old. Nice touch there. And there are still damaging laws on the books in some of these states. Idaho and Montana pay hunters for wolf kills, bounties. Unbelievable. They pay bounties to get rid of wolves. They authorize trapping, snaring, night vision equipment, baiting, and motor vehicles and dogs to track and kill wolves. So since we have seen what happens when you strip away all federal protection for gray wolves and leave them entirely to the tender mercies of wildlife agencies who apply these kind of strategies, and frankly, agencies that presided over the near extirpation of the gray wolf from the United States for decades, you get a pretty bad outcome. So look, we're talking about a bill that's called the Trust the Science Act. If you really trust the science, you should be comfortable having a backstop, just in case you're wrong about how these enlightened state wildlife agencies are going to take care of gray wolves without any federal protection. You should at least want to support a science-based mechanism that kicks in if excessive hunting or any other threat to the gray wolf population causes their population to crash again. And that's what this amendment does. It provides the infrastructure that we need to stop excessive killings or any other threat that would cause the gray wolf to go extinct in the absence of ESA protection. Now, the last time this happened, the courts stepped in and stopped the needless killing. But this bill would ban judicial review, and so it is that much more important that if you're going to move a bill like this forward and you say you're not legislating extinction, you've got to at least support a science-based backstop. That's what this would do. If the population declines too much, there would be an emergency listing of the species. It would provide 240 days of protection, while the Fish and Wildlife Service could conduct a status review. That is a modicum of protection, and I think a clear-eyed view of what has happened in the absence of federal protection would suggest that that's the least we could do if we genuinely care about this species. So I urge the adoption of this amendment, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
Mr.
Ms. Bober,
Chairman.